set for him. As we run on into this one, this is the first time we're going to see OMG and eStar swap sides in the series. And as we go into this, just a quick pretext that the series between BLG and V5 will be played in full after this series ends. So don't worry, stick around and we'll play it in full for you. So that'll be coming up. But for OMG and eStar, the Camille ban, that's the first thing I see. Is I see they don't want to see ZS on that again.
And mid lane bans kind of staying the same on both sides. Still OMG taking away that Syndra and eStar taking away the Zoe. We're also seeing the Samira ban hold up after that Game 1 performance. So not a whole lot different here. OMG banning the Xayah. Again, I'm guessing it's signaling that we're going to get a first pick Kai'Sa coming out. But the other two picks that we're just going to keep highlighting is Olaf and Pantheon. Are one of the two at least will still be left open.
Yeah, the Kai'Sa as well. You know, in that game when you get a snowball and Kai'Sa can run into a team that looks so good, he's not going to let that go through. So what do you get for OMG now? Do you just go to that jungle you were talking about?
I think you just go Pantheon. It seems like Pantheon is a more versatile jungle. A lot of his, I'd say, scaling deficiencies have been kind of fixed with the help of like the passive armor penetration on his ultimate now, with Gore Drinker in general in his build. He always has a role in team fights, being able to kind of like peel and find picks, but Aki wanting to go more towards that Olaf pick.
We've definitely changed directions in the LPL over the past couple of weeks, haven't we? We started out with like Akali being a must ban. She finds her way through again. Now they realize the power of Olaf, but for eStar, how confident are you taking the Pantheon here, as Lyric talked about?
To be fair to the Akali pick, though, neither of these mid laners really known for their Akali pick. And you were the one highlighting New earlier in RNG, right? He was a lot more of like a bruiser. He played more of a supportive role. ZS as well on IG Young wasn't the primary focal point of that team. So it makes sense that both teams are going to be like, hey, we're not going to ban Akali. We don't expect the other team to play it. And we do just get a trade of the S-tier junglers. The other thing to look out for is obviously AD carries. Jhin is the one that jumps to mind as obviously being the highest priority left open. The other most picked AD carry is Aphelios, but we typically only see Aphelios picked into the likes of the Kai'Sa, so I don't think we should be seeing that here blind.
Let's also remember things like Misfortune always hover around that A tier too, if we do have to go there. At the very least, great for team fighting. I'm going to pause because OMG have decided, all right, let's get the Galio, let's reintroduce the Aatrox that New destroyed on Game 1. And already we're changing things up for OMG.
So flex pick Galio on our screens, of course, can be the support role. Very strong top side of the map for OMG, so they might have some pressure to play around, unless eStar do decide to go with the Renekton. And the thing that surprises me is just the fact that we're not having bot laners come out. Again, Jin's win rate in the LPL isn't all that good. He is the safest blind pick AD carry left available, but we're just going to have full top sides for both teams, though, you know, with an asterisk on that Galio.
Are you ready? We're going to ban 80 carries, right? Is that the direction? Do you just take away everything from the pool if you're both these teams and see what's left up?
For OMG, definitely not. OMG, I think you need to react to whatever eStar are going to ban here first. eStar can definitely ban 80 carries and look to just pick one on 4, and then you leave your support to counter pick, but it does look like they're expecting that Galio to be played in the support position and instead just want to take out some annoying mid laners to deal with.
Yeah, another global threat, right? Because if Galio goes to support and you have a Twist of Fate mid, then the global pressure just stacks up. At the very least, we know Wooming plays this Galio, so let's keep an open mind, as you've already alluded to, Lyric. But support bans here for OMG. Getting rid of the Thresh maybe opens up the book for eStar.
The thing is, as we've highlighted, that Galio actually hasn't been picked all that much into anything really outside of the Leona here in the LPL, so maybe they are signaling that they want to go for a Leona pick on 4 by banning out these mid laners.
Do you then, for OMG, just say, hey, you know, if we think you're going to do that, get rid of Leona, get rid of Alistar, just to tunnel them in?
Oh, well, you called the hysterics. They did get rid of the Alistar. And hey, we were both completely wrong in terms of AD carries. Didn't happen. Again, I think for OMG's bans, they have to be a bit more reactive with the fact that they are on blue side and they're going to pick second. And I would expect for eStar to lock this one in, but I'm still kind of baffled why we're not just blind picking AD carries and countering in the support option. But, you know, we have Shalsey. Shalsey's a man who likes to get on his kind of flavor of champions, and we're going to see him pull out the set.
It's been banned in both games as well, right? So he finally gets it slipping through. We're seeing a lot of picks slip through on that manner as well. As OMG hovering an AD carry. We have to see what they play because both picks coming on blue side now. Tristana is something we've seen as a response, but are we going to see it blind?
Yeah, we've seen Tristana a lot from both Light and Jomung. It is going to be locked in. It is kind of fun to watch again with the all-in potential coming out in level 2 and just the fact that you are a bit more of a hyper carry. And OMG's comp thus far is very interesting because it's setting up for the comp that we saw like LGD play around Garvey, where you have a bunch of these bruisers with this very strong AD carry pick to where we're going to see the likes of, new Aki, Woomin, Cold go in. It's going to create a lot of chaos and make space for Eric to deal the damage that's needed to carry these fights.
And get resets and just, you're right, carry the fights so easily if everything comes off. But for eStar, they need an 80 carry, and there's still quite a bit on the board. The Jin's there, the Misfortune's there. But are we just going to go back and say, hey, pull in the Vayne, rat-a-tat-tat, wrong champion. But it's Vayne locked in with Xiaoxi set.
And we've had a lot of conversations because of the standings about what year are we in, but Vayne versus Tristana, we haven't had this matchup in the LPL yet. Not too versed in this matchup. I expect Tristana to obviously have the early game pressure. She's going to have the push coming out from her E, and we talked about that all in, but the fact that they're putting so many eggs into Rat's basket is going to be interesting to see. It still feels like the dynamic duo of Hacker and Xiaoxi are going to dictate a lot of kind of how eStar's game goes. But I like the comp that OMG put together with these 4 kind of meteor members. But hey, with Vayne's True Bolts, Silver Bolts, I'm sorry, she is going to be able to deal with a lot of these tankier members. It's
fun, right? Seeing Tristana versus Vayne feels like we've gone back a couple of years. And, getting away from the Jins, the Samiras, the Kaisers, it just feels like a refreshing end to this series, which has been, let's be quite honest, not refreshing. It has been messy in the first part. The second game felt really nice on eStar's perspective. We want to see what OMG can do because both early games were taken by eStar. Game 1, Game 2, between 2 to 4,000 gold lead by 15 minutes. And OMG's early game has been the weakest part, so we'll see, Lyric. I'll get you to explain the comp more as we go on in, but as we enter Summoner's Rift, just note one thing, that Xiaoxi got set, and Set is one of his best champions. Xiaoxi's a great engager. He's the focal point of eStar. Well, the OMG, we talked a lot about putting the pieces together, and Aki running into Hacker has been a big difference so far. We'll see if Aki can bring it back into this third and final game. All right, we're in Shanghai, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'll let the gyos come through. And I probably interrupted about half of them for you, but I'm sure everyone at home is sitting there with their banners. We have a very different set of compositions here, Lyric. Start me with OMG again, just more on what we're talking about. You said it opens up space for Eric, but through these early lanes, what should I come to expect if we start at the bottom lane?
For OMG, I think their bottom lane is where they will potentially have pressure. A lot of it's going to depend on if Xiaoxi can find that nice flash onto Eric. If he can't, Eric and Cold will definitely have push. Their mid and top lane, though, will be pressured. So that will be the avenue where, Hacker can play around for the side of eStar to look to punish OMG. And then we're just going to see... Again, it's kind of interesting that similar comps in the sense that we have 4 bruisers and a hyper carry on one side, 3 bruisers, a hyper carry, and then this Orianna on the opposite. Going to be a lot about the front-to-back team fights as before.
And if we can start it now, why not? I say OMG 4 stacking into blue buff and everyone's going back and forth. Irma's like, I don't know, man. I'm going to go back to lane. See you later. And now it's a 4 versus 3.
And Xiaoxi's kind of looking for his way around. Wouldn't be too uncommon to see Xiaoxi look for a flash, but the fact that we are seeing Irma on our screen in the mid lane just does look like eStar are going to give that one up, and Hacker's going to just have to settle for his wolves.
Aki gets 2, gets blue. You're right, wolf start here for Hacker, who just supersedes, and it turns out the alpha jungler in Game 3 is Aki.
Great to see coming out from him and OMG as a whole. Again, just kind of offsetting that early pressure that we talked that eStar could potentially have on the map from some of their lane matchups. We do still see that, Renekton and Orianna do have push. Irma mostly because Galio wasn't there. Renekton going to have pressure in this lane matchup very early on.
That is why to use Lyric to interrupt you is Facebreaker in the response. Cold getting pretty dangerously low. has to pop the pot. Press the attack was activated from Rat, who he just takes an E once again to the face. So gets pushed back in this lane as Eric and Cold short will hit level 2.
And I'm really interested to see how this game goes once we get to the part around skirmishing around Dragon and Rift Herald. I do like the amount of security I feel like Eric has with the zone control coming out from the Galio and just things like his jump in general as compared to Rat. I do expect to see both teams just kind of play out front to back, not necessarily having to just strictly dive on the enemy AD carry, but Aki and Nu probably could just get right on top of Rat, and then eStar won't have that much damage to be done to the rest of OMG's comp.
That's right, and you know, the later we go as well, like people like the Pantheon, the Renekton aren't going to amplify any of that damage. If we are talking that 30-40 minute mark. Same can be said, of course, with Aki on the Olaf. And, of course, you know, Galio we're not going to be talking about much, but it is exciting to see the hyper carries in the AD carry position. And that's a face breaker once again. Silver Bolt's close to getting that last hit. And Buster Shot passive is, or rather Explosive Charge passive used well. Shousey getting low, he just used the Haymaker, so it doesn't have it to hit right back. And that's a beneficial trade, taking the flash from eStar's support.
Overall, really good stuff coming out from OMG. Been a very close back and forth best of 3 so far. We're going to see Hacker pair up with his top laner and now potentially going to look for some deep vision into Aki's jungle. But with the wave pushing back, Hacker might be patient, but I do expect him to just get this recall off and go start clearing back his bottom side jungle.
Yeah, Hacker, especially since he's behind the curve bit, but he's going to commit. He cancelled his back. Now that could be huge as Conqueror comes through. Nu in a bit of trouble. Almost getting solo killed by Nu as he jumps on in. Hacker luckily sticking around, but there's no kill. Nu has to burn the flash, but so does Hacker, who gets pretty much nothing for the trade.
Still, we are going to see Nu lose some minions in EXP, so this is going to be nice for the side of eStar. So at least to where we've seen them lose out a bit in the bottom lane, Eric is building up a bit of a CS advantage. ZS at least able to get something in return in the top lane.
Yeah, let me just reiterate, you know, good for the top laner at the very least, so not nothing, but I think crucially what I should say is that Hacker spending the time, spending the flash, means he's still behind the curve. 16 CS is the advantage for Aki and a level lead. And we've talked about this a lot in the jungle, where experienced leads can't really be recuperated. It's very hard to catch back up in a jungle game.
Especially when we're talking about the fact that, hey, OMG have pressure in their bottom lane. We hit on the Galio and Orianna matchup before, right? Galio quickly gets to the point where he just ignores kind of the enemy control mage, throws out his abilities at the wave, and moves. This is going to set up for a very easy dragon for Aki if he just wants to, you know, path towards the bottom side and look for that objective, which should be uncontested in my mind from eStar.
You've got a pickaxe on the Tristana, and look at Rat, he hasn't backed yet, so there's definitely a damage advantage this early on. Plus, we know what Tristana does in closed environments. So, Dragon there with Scuttle secured, but Aki's towards the top side for now, where Hacker's finally found his first reset to give him Phage, and still behind the curve. Aki right now on a marathon through that jungle, and still has one more camp to clear, and then potentially that objective.
Exactly, Aki just kind of like following his camp's respawn timers to a T. I do expect him to potentially go towards the bottom lane. We do see topside Scuttle spawning, but the fact that this first Drake is so free for the side of OMG, I would like to see them take it. We're already seeing Wooming Shadow around the bottom side river, and they do have double control ward as well.
He's holding in Fog of War. This is nice from Wooming, thinking he's roaming, but tagged by the Undertow. Wooming wanted the Justice Punch. Luckily, Irma gets phase rush and gets out of there as the wave gets cleared. Now opportunities open up for OMG again, and as you said, free as a bird. This just enables it more.
And we're going to see Hacker look towards the opposite side of the map. The Scuttle Crab is coming up soon. We haven't seen ZS's wave, so I'm not quite sure if he can realistically go for a dive. Nu is full HP and also has his ultimate, so it probably would be a bit dicey. But at least we'll get a bit of XP back, and actually Irma's making his way up. But Wooming is ultimate. Wooming is ultimate, hysterics.
Okay, all right, well, let's see. At the very least,
I'm not feeling good about this.
Yeah, okay, they stopped. Neither were they, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't have backed away. And meanwhile, if the play gets dismantled, then never mind, Wooming pushes again. Aki takes back the camp that started it all and continues his run.
And great to see from OMG force the level 1 invade and they've just used that to map out Hackers' pathing, find advantages they probably shouldn't have had, and they've done a great job at controlling this early game so far.
And now, with a kill onto Irma as a possibility, flashes away. Ignite was put down by Wooming, but he has Unsealed Spellbook. That means Teleport will be opened up. Irma now without any summoners in this lane.
Yeah, this is going to be another point where they can keep playing around, right? We talked about how Galio having the potential to set up 4 ganks from Aki, so those are plays you can start to look for. I'm also just so interested in the fact that we haven't seen Rat recall yet. He's still only sitting on that Doran's Blade.
It's like that solo queue experience where you're like, well, they keep pushing the lane. I don't want to back off just yet as Shousey gets a face breaker, but the interaction is Eric can get cancelled mid-rocket jump, but you just have to save it for after the face break is used. So he gets away so easily, maintaining a 10 CS lead down in this lane with the pickaxe.
Overall, just kind of doing their job, just providing safety for Aki to be able to do what he needs. In terms of mythics, I would expect to see Rat definitely go towards the Kraken Slayer, probably with the way that OMG's comp is built with a lot of these like beefier and tankier members. For Eric, probably the same thing. We have seen a lot of Gale Force coming out on Tristan as well, which is what I personally like to see with, again, just the amount of mobility you already have in your kit.
It's something that, especially this game, that could be a really fun interaction running after, you know, people like Shousey, getting past him with rocket jumps. So we'll see at the very least. Starting with pickaxe is going to show us one thing, but on the top side, Aki already picked up the Dragon. He's now moved to the Herald. It's 9 minutes into the game, and Herald's going to reset a little bit as ZS draws it out, but Hackers here, still with the level disadvantage.
The thing is, Shousey's at base, so Shousey actually has the ability to start moving towards the top side first. Eric and Cold have the bottom lane push, so they could match. It will equal out to being a numbers advantage for OMG. Even if Eric and Cold don't fully commit, if they hover in Fog of War, eStar need to treat it like they can be there.
Yeah. That's what Fog of War, you know, does so well, right? Where, or rather, what OMG's been using Fog of War.
I was going to say, that is what Fog of War does.
Fog of War is the biggest 5-head in the game. At the very least, what I was trying to say is Wooming was using it well. You know, OMG through this series, trying to use the lapse in vision from eStars to try and force a play. This game, a lot easier when you're ahead, of course, but, you know, Wooming pushes a wave, leaves, and you can see, as Lyric was talking about, Eric and Cole doing the same thing. There's a CS discrepancy in the mid lane as well. Just to be noted, top side is what we talked about, and that's why the eStar aren't that far behind in gold, despite bottom lane having an advantage, despite the jungle lead that we've been talking about all game long. And chat, I know you're a bit sad that there's no blood. You might be falling asleep, but don't. Because it's going to escalate. We got to get the mythics. You know, you got to be patient. And then when we have mythics,
oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Someone could die. Well,
it's not.
All right, this is why you don't tell them it's coming. You just got to wait and let them experience it themselves. Okay.
I mean, we are seeing cold posture on the map. It does look like something could be on the way, but just gonna hover for Wooming. Wooming is going to get the wave push, and now we're at the point, right? I expect the next thing is OMG are just going to look for a place to drop this Herald. I think the best place I'd like to see is just bot and put the place onto the Tristana, who's going to be your team's main point of damage. They might look to do what they did last game of, not what they did, actually, what eStar did, where you drop it mid, and it allows you to start playing around both quadrants of the jungle, especially with the fact that you do have a global mid laner. It's kind of funny that we're seeing OMG play in such a similar way to what eStar did last game.
It's right. It's kind of like a learning experience. Like they've taken away something from what eStar have played their early games and applying it themselves. Hey, I like dropping it towards Eric though, because this is the carry you talked about, the hyper carry for OMG. And he pushes down turrets so far, so you can see, played almost there is Shousey. Oh no. Well, worth a shot. Okay, back to the drawing board, you lost the turret.
To be fair, he has Hex Flash. It's not the biggest loss, but OMG are going to be able to secure this turret anyway, and it should equal out to another Drake as well.
There's no solo kill here. Irma still doesn't have the damage. Wooming uses the W as well to get rid of some of it, as Aki just shows mid, and immediately Irma has to back off.
And now OMG sending the rest of their members mid to gain prio again, and they're just going to use this to turn back towards that dragon.
I will say, just back on the Shousey play, you know, Hex Flash is obviously better than Real Flash, so that's probably why he wasted it, to get Hex Flash as soon as possible, so it's just such a 200 IQ move. Hey, Dragon goes down. We now have an Infernal Rift, so that's going to feel pretty good. 2 Dragons to go here for OMG, and they've continued to control the early game, now with a 1,000 lead after getting the bottom lane turret. And Chelsea's trying to move around, but eStar just grasping at straws, it seems.
Yeah, I don't think they're able to pull off this dive. The fact that News level 10, plated steel caps, has ultimate up. You don't know where the other members are. Wooming has a global ultimate. Like, there's so many reasons why eStar shouldn't look for this topside dive. They're just going to set down some vision because Chelsea did have tempo coming out from base. But now we are going to see the expected lane swap coming out from OMG, putting their artillery piece in the top side, which is able to start taking this turret. And it's probably going to be just the same game plan from OMG, right? Wooming's going to keep shadowing for the bot side. We're going to see Aki continuously path towards that bottom lane. You're going to put a lot of pressure on this turret, try to break that one down in time for something, whether it is the next Dragon or the next Rift Herald.
Can I just come back to Eric? Because I've noticed the Kraken Slayer there. Are you a bit sad we don't see the Gale Force considering?
I'm not sad. I always just think it's fun to see like the amount of skill expression. I love it, especially for Kai'Sa when we see like an ultimate and then like Gale Force is even further off our screen. These champions that already have dashes. It's quite fun to watch, but Eric going for the most amount of DPS possible, which when you are a more one carry threat oriented team, which feels weird because Aatrox and Olaf will definitely deal a lot of damage, but in the late game,
Eric, Solar Flare's coming down. You know what? Chelsea's dead. First blood goes over to the Tristana. And all of a sudden, Hacker's in as well. Shockwave used that whiffs. Eric saves the rocket jump. And eStar look out of sorts.
For us highlighting, is this the MVP of eStar? Bit of egg on our face so far. Hysterics. Chelsea not having the performance we'd expect. Nope. Honestly, I don't know what he was going for. He just kind of walked up out of nowhere, up to 4 members. The rest of your team isn't there. Sure, Hacker has ultimate, but I don't know how he didn't expect to just get bursted out immediately.
Yeah. Well, there's still first blood, and you gave it over to Tristana, so that's not great. You know, that's not great. And now for OMG, you know, moving this top side, that's a good steal for Hacker of his own buff. As the engage starts, teleport there, over the wall, Eric comes in, great condemn from Rat, but meanwhile the fight on the other side, Chelsea works his way in to maybe be dead again. The undertow landing the first time, the second time, and New on the Aatrox. Oh my god, the dunk comes on down with a rocket jump on top of that. Eric resets City up there while Hacker's bloodthirsty. These two teams can't help it. They're like, let's go back to game 1. A double kill for Hacker. And it's 4 for 3, but OMG, still a bit of a win.
Yeah, this was all over the place. Actually being a 3 for 3 overall, but we talked about how these compositions do function somewhat similarly, just like in Game 1, even though the comps themselves aren't like Game 1 comps. And it seems like, hey, if OMG and eStar come in with these similar 5v5 oriented teamfight comps, this time being much more melee oriented and scrappy and brawly, it's always going to end up about the same. We see OMG going 2 different directions at first. We see Eric going forward topside to where the Galio starts going down. New having a really nice play here. Does hit all 3 Qs, I'm sorry, to land this kill onto Irma. Does pick up that kill, but again, in the end, 3 for 3 overall.
Yeah, Tristana died, Eric died. We didn't get to see it. I feel like we've been baited by our observers, but let's just assume he took 2 turret shots, tried to jump out, and probably died after killing Rat. So still got the kill, and you know, at the end of that play, the reason I say that it feels so OMG favored, despite Hacker getting kills, is because this big hyper carry lyric is still making progress with gold, is almost at 2 items here as well.
We've also seen what an Aatrox can do in that very first game, so not going to feel great with that one. Interestingly, we have Irma going for the Liandry's Anguish this time around, so again, a lot more about burning down these speed-fear members. I think it could have been an expected build coming into this game. Dragon coming up in 45 seconds. OMG have control of the mid-wave, so they're going to be able to take vision more aggressively.
But you know what I've learned in the LPL? Once teams fight once and get the feeling for it, like, you know, tasting the blood, they go, this is actually not bad. We should do this again. It's like first when I went to Hot Pot and had, I think it was duck's blood or pig's blood, and I was like, oh, I don't know about this, but I bit into it, and the taste, the texture was fantastic. I have it every time now. So eStar, maybe go back to that. Hacker with 2 kills with Gore Drinker can kind of go through that journey himself. But right now to Herald, that's the question. OMG grouping up mid. eStar thinking about going for the fight.
We do see that OMG do have control of bot waves, so they are going to be losing out on something. It does give New an easy path to rotate from. Rooming does have both his ultimate and his TP, so this will definitely escalate into a 5v5. Again, I expect it to be front to back from both sides. If 180 carry missteps, they should get collapsed on immediately. We have both summoners from Rat and no summoners from Eric, so that's probably the most important thing to note.
Chat, I know you have a brain. Listen to what Lyric's saying. One misstep. That's what we'll be looking out for, especially for the likes of Rat. With the Kraken Slayer now, Dragon's going to go down pretty fast. Aki's there from the rim, though, and Hacker now has the same level as he gets pulled on in. Ragnarok immediately pulls in the Hero's entrance. Only hits Dragon. None of eStar is new. With the flank, Rat kiting back as well. Look at the position of this Vayne, as Shalcy keeps him safe. New hit hard. He doesn't have that much sustain yet, and Rat feeling himself. Get him a double kill. Cold goes back in. It's Vayne time for another triple kill.
Rat coming in massive, and a lot of this is off the mistakes from Aki getting chunked out so low. It turned into what was just a 5v4 for the side of eStar. And guess what? Even if we do have like 4 bruiser composition versus the 3 bruiser comp, if you have less numbers, Rat gonna be able to dish out more damage every time. Still nice plays coming out from him. We saw ZS doing a nice job of kind of playing that frontline role. And now eStar getting back into a game where they really didn't have any map pressure early on.
And you've just given the hyper carry, you know, the same conversation I was saying about Eric. You've given him resources. You're now setting him up with that recurve bow that's going to lead into Blade of the Ruined King. This is perfect, or even the Gwinsus, excuse me. This is perfect for eStar to move back into the game. They've got a 1,000 gold lead, and they've got mythics coming across the board for that other carry in Irma.
And we are going to get a replay of the fight. And again, keep your eyes on Aki. He gets pulled in by Shalcy, and a Rat just able to free hit him. He's already 25% HP. This fight is pretty much a numbers advantage for the side of eStar. Nice ultimate coming out to bring in rooming. And once again, Rat is just able to free hit this whole time. No one is putting any threat onto him. And we talked about coming into this fight that it would probably just be a battle of the front to back. Both front lines would probably feel fine just going forward, and both AD carries just hitting those opposite front lines. It's about, you know, who can dish out more damage or who's going to misstep first, and it was definitely OMG who made the mistake in that circumstance.
Rat almost making one there, but the lens spots out. I have to clarify, I made a mistake. Recurve bow, of course, is for Blade of the Ruined King. Gwinsus has the cute little baby rage knife. So obviously the second item for Rat will be Blade of the Ruined King, as he's trying to catch up to the Phantom Dancer just picked up by Eric, and chat will be talking about this quite a lot. The items for these 80 carries that will change the pace of the battle and see how they can escape, move across with the extra items they've bought. But for now, eStar's focus and OMG's focus is just bashing down these turrets. So we'll have that discussion another time, while ZS will be the first here, and the Galio up in that top lane, Wooming will pick up the other one.
Yeah, just ultimately going to be a trade. I do want to hit on that Phantom Dance real quick, because I feel like that item will be very crucial coming into these team fights where, of course, your basic attacks grant pretty much ghost. You get the 7% and you're able to move through minions. So going to be extremely important for Eric trying to kite out the likes of Pantheon, Set, and Renekton. Also getting the 40% bonus AS when fully stacked is just going to be insane. Comboing with this Kraken Slayer as well, being able to dish out all that true damage. So really key pickup for Eric, and it's really going to come in crucial in the next team fight.
I think as well, people need to remember that there is no defensive capabilities, but for just dueling and DPSing, it just feels like such a great item. Eric level 11, so is Rat. So level 2 of the ultimates, especially the Buster Shot, is going to be interesting to watch. As you guys can't see it, but I can tell you one thing: the Colonel has flipped to eStar. He's at about 57% right now, and that to me gets me geared up for the next fight. Infernal, 1 minute 50. Chat definitely awake by now after seeing all the blood, and even now, let's wake up a little bit more. ZS has found New, and he's out with the World Ender. Batman flies over and manages to escape in the end.
Luckily for him, that cooldown should be up by the time we do get the next Infernal Drake, so not actually missing out on too much. I was scared that Hacker was going to look to flash and overextend for that kill. Thankfully, he didn't. Both top laners and junglers are just going to be able to walk away scot-free from that. We do see Irma able to put pressure up towards the top side with the fact that Shalcy is hovering through River. eStar also setting up a lot of vision, just complete river control coming out from eStar. They're able to push out both side lanes, and it's really nice to see.
Really is. I think as well, like showing us control. We can have that discussion again where, you know, where we put eStar, where we put OMG. It's tactics like this. It's side lane control, to reiterate, that a lot of teams fail in certain compositions, if that's fair to say. As Herald's going to be put mid, maybe something we can bring up yet again. This Herald's being put down 45 seconds before Dragon, so it must have been timing out because the ideal timing would have been, you know, maybe 20 seconds before.
Yep, still, like you said, probably about to time out. We are hitting 2 items for certain key members. We already talked about bot laners. Boy of the Rune King is picked up by Rat. We do have the Zhonya's Hourglass for Wooming, so could potentially buy more time into this upcoming team fight. New is just going to outright look to TP. Actually, both top laners. In response, ZS has to TP since New is already here. And OMG will be the team to at least have control of Drake first.
Dominus is about to come up. ZS will not have the ult for the start of the fight at the very least. Xiaoxi's running on in. He has his real flash back up and available again. If OMG get this, they'll move to Soul Point. News over by the flank in a position that, Lyric, you've talked about for good Aatrox players. You want to play the front line, you want to play from that flanking angle. And that's exactly where he is for now, with ZS matching him. Dragon's been started. Hacker walking in. Xiaoxi here as well. Cold with the Zenith Blade. Flashes in. He wants the backline. He's on to Rat. And he's set up the heroic entrance. Wooming flies in first. Eric's having a good time now as well. And they're in a choke. Rat trying to outplay. He hits Eric once, twice. Tumbles away. He's gone invisible. He's run out of his ultimate. And New's taken him down. That one was carried by Cold as he sets up the engage. Hacker's the only one left. And you know, even with Gore Drinker, he's soon to drop. Take it all. OMG are back in the game.
Still 9-9 in kills. We pretty much see the reverse of what happened last time around. Cold finding the massive engage, like you said. Very well played by OMG overall. This is going to equal out to the Dragon. Sadly, if Eric was up, they could have even potentially looked to start a Baron play right now. But at the very least, they take the Dragon, recalls are going to come out, and we can start putting down some vision in the topside river and starting to play around that topside objective.
Lyric, we're going to have a look at this fight again very shortly. And, you know, I've been focusing on Rat a lot of the time, but I think Cold makes the play with Wooming's ultimate on top. As they get a turret, they get Soul Point now. And we'll have a look at it now because eStar got engaged on well here by Cold.
Yep, nice. Zenith Blade in, flashes past it and goes straight onto the Orianna. They burst him out immediately. We see the exhaust come out onto Rat as well to stop him from being able to dish out that maximum DPS. This is where it got scary in my mind. I thought, oh my god, is Rat going to be able to do it? But New coming in clutch, hitting a lot of these Qs, Eing for it as well. Once they're able to shut that Vayne down, there was really no hope for eStar in this fight.
Rat getting exhausted. Key summoner used onto this Vayne too. And eStar now down by 2,000 gold. The swing, the ebb and flow of this third game continues on. And while I mentioned Soul Point, let's not also forget that things can be swung around if eStar want to start up Baron, which is what they're doing. There's a ward in pit though. They haven't done their due diligence, and even on the scuttle, they don't care. They're still starting it.
New doesn't have TP though, Hysterics. He has to walk the long way here.
True. So for OMG, they're going to have a man down at 4K. This is going down fast with the help of Rat, who's doing this true damage to the Baron. The steel bolt's there. Set can't get the ulti. Xiaoxi, it's stolen. Walk right on in. And Aki just says, oh, thank you for the leash. As eStar now have to kite back. Look at Rat. He's still alive. New wants him, but he's safe. New jumps on in, and he's going to die. While eStar, they may not get the Baron, but the team fight with Eric, the only one left alive, is definitely theirs. Hacker on the chase, and Eric waiting to rocket jumper. Q again. Sniped down, and OMG erased.
Massive win from the side of eStar. Doesn't matter that they didn't get the Baron. They're going to pick up all the kills. Should be able to get some turrets and more gold off of this play as well. And it's just kind of disappointing, right? Because New wasn't there, so it doesn't matter that Aki got the steal. They still had to funnel in to try to get that steal. It was numbers disadvantage on their part. eStar were able to turn and say, okay, we're going to clean up this fight. Tristana getting bursted, pretty much having to walk away so early on. And yeah, minus 800 gold Baron play coming out from OMG.
Not the greatest, you'd say, is it was OMG who walked in and look, just walks up and steals it.
But still, look at your minimap. Aatrox isn't in this fight, and they had to funnel into a very awkward choke point, which is great for the side of eStar. We also can see off on the side that Tristana somehow did get chunked early on, and it just led to a clean sweep from the side of eStar.
Now eStar back into a pretty much 2K gold swing. I said this, the ebb and flow of this game has continued on, and what more can you say than eStar now in a comfortable position again? Question mark. It's 2 minutes till the Infernal comes up, and we're just going to farm and wait for the next fight.
Look, hysterics. No one is in a comfortable position. OMG are on soul point. eStar, sure, they're winning in gold, but, you know, both of these guys, palms sweaty right now, nervous. That next team fight will completely decide this game, most likely. So, yeah, we're going to come down to execution, going to come down to who can find that clutch engage that we saw Cold find this time around. Of course, Xiaoxi was the one who found it in the first Dragon fight.
Who's going to find it now? Who's going to throw next? Who's going to be the best? I don't know. I don't know if the word best was rightly used there, but I'm just going to wait. I'm going to gear up for the next minute and 20. I've run out of Vegemite on toast. I had 2, Lyric. He didn't accept my offer to have one to gear you up for this game, but I think it'd be perfect right now.
It's actually just real quick tangent. It's really weird to look down at the scoreboard and realize that Hacker is 7-1-4. It's been, again, OMG were doing a great job of controlling the jungle in the early game, but of course, off of some of these recent skirmishes.
He's got Ragnarok. He can't be sunned down. He can just run this out, but it depends. They're going to use the hero's entrance right down as well. OMG for the counter engage. Xiaoxi ults out Wooming, which I think was just shocking. And now, looking in the backside, Aki's still getting chased. Well, it's an absolute mess. Eric and Rat are still alive, and I'm trying to find Rat. He's up here onto Wooming. The Vayne needs the Silver Bolts, gets the true damage, and down will go for a double kill. Eric now trying to run away, and the Vayne better, a triple kill to follow suit. Xiaoxi on the chase, and this series has just been the epitome of League of Legends. Xiaoxi over the wall. Eric, does he have another rocket jump? The real question. He wants to turn the blade. He will in a second. Is he going to die? Yeah.
I just wonder if eStar can close, which they actually definitely can. I don't need to wonder. 20-second death timers.
Oh my god, it's done. Colt's trying to defend onto the Nexus turret. And yep, that's it. There's a full-blown ace, and eStar are going to run it home. I don't know. I don't think eStar or OMG won this series, but I think the viewers definitely did.
I just don't know how we go from a replay. We pop back into the screen. It's like, okay, Aki's caught out. You point out he's Ragnarok. He can't get CC'd. Suddenly, for the side of OMG, they have to funnel into a very awkward position to try to save him. And they just all die. They just all die out of nowhere. The game is over. And, yeah, I don't know if eStar really felt like the better team per se, but they pick up the win, which keeps them in the playoff picture, which gives them time to be the better team.
Yeah. Well, GG eStar, GG to our viewers. Well played from their perspective as well. We went 3 games in, we went deep into the rabbit hole, and we've all seen Alice in Wonderland. We know what really is happening in that movie. I feel like, I got a dose here. OMG and eStar were back and forth for the majority of this series, and we're going to be realistic. These feel like, mid to bottom tier teams based off of what we see here today, based off our expectations.
Definitely, we saw mistakes coming out from both sides. I think we saw good things and bad things from both sides, right?